course, it is to be here for the screening, is because it's her birthday this week, and she's having a rather large birthday. I don't have a candle.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you.
My first question is, how are you doing?
This is very strange times. I don't think it could get any stranger than that. When the world is a stranger, too, if, pun intended. So, yeah, I mean, for me, coming here even for 24 hours is a break, really, from... It's. I mean, as you may know, and you experience yourself, it's really horrifying. What's happening in the last few months.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I must say that when it first happened, or maybe you should ask me questions. No, I'm usually...
We're going to just talk, so whatever, comes up for you.
I just want to say that the movie came theatrically, it was released theatrically in Israel on September 7th. So it had 30 days to live before everything stopped. And in these 30 days, it was such a blessing, really. It was like 250,000 people went to the cinema to watch it, and 250,000 in a 9 million people population country. It's a lot.
Yeah.
And everything was going so well. The critics loved it, and we won the Ophir Prize, which meant that we will be campaigning for the foreign language Oscar, and then this happened, and first thing we felt is just meaninglessness with continuing with the campaign. We basically forgot that we had a film for about 2 or 3 weeks. We didn't even think about it. We didn't have even the mental, emotional space to feel sorry for ourselves that this has been cut like this, when we're so immersed in what was happening to our country and to our country people. So funnily enough, or strangely enough, the turning point was when we all, as the film cast went, as many other people in the artistic Israeli community did, was to go and just meet with refugees and people that were driven away from their homes, and they were living in hotels around Israel. And we went to the refugees, should I say, from Kfar Aza, who were staying in a hotel in Shfaim. And we met them there, and it was like, there was a whiteboard with a list of funerals, the daily run of funerals, and on the lawns of the hotel, it was like a camping site of funerals, of Shiva tents. And we all went as the cast of Seven Blessings, because everybody heard about Seven Blessings. We thought we would just, walk around, talk with people, hug them, just listen to them. And we got to this tent of a family of Tal Eilon, who was the head of the security guard of the kibbutz, and he was killed in the first hours of the attack. And his widow was there, Mazi, and his mother, Liora. And when we started talking to Mazi, and she was very lively, hosting everyone. And we told her, about the film. She was asking the film. We said, we were supposed to be campaigning for the Oscar now, but who thinks about it? And she said, no. You get out there and you bring Kfar Aza the Oscar. You go get us the Oscar. And somehow we left this place, and something switched. in our minds. And from that day on, we just got into campaigning again, but it was a different fuel suddenly. Usually, you do represent your country, but basically you just represent yourself, right? I mean, if you go to such a big thing like the Oscar, but here I must admit, and I'm telling you the truth, we weren't thinking about ourselves anymore. We were doing this for Israel, and I was never as patriotic before, but now I am, and since I'm here and this is the audience, so I can say that with no fear.
I think it's amazing. That was going to be my next question about how this has fueled you and the importance of it, but it's so interesting that you were with these people from Kfir Aza. There was another filmmaker who was murdered from there.
And his funeral was the same day that we were here. We saw his name in the list of funerals, and we were thinking, wow, I mean,
It's unbelievable. We just did a fundraising campaign for his.
Yeah,
we raised a lot of money for her because it just the
for his
story.
wife, for Shiley.
Yeah.
She was auditioning for the role of Doris. She was one of the actresses because she's a filmmaker and an actress.
It's just you're telling us stories. Every day more and more stories come out that we don't know about. There's so many. It's mind-blowing. But you know what? We are so grateful that you came here and that the inspiration was, you became patriotic because it became your mission to come here and represent Israel. And, this film carries so much more importance now. It's a beautiful film. It should win an Oscar in its own right, but what it carries with it now, it's tremendous. And for everything that you've done for your country and being here, thank you. I want to talk a little bit about the idea for the film and how did it come about, the screenplay, and how did you become involved with directing it?
Well, as you see, it's not so common for people to be signed up as the creators of the film, but this is the work of 4 people. I'm only the director, but the writers and actresses, Eleanor and Raymond, and our producer, Ronen, we really like, like a mini family that created this film, and I was actually the last to join. So, it's kudos to them that they actually, built the whole thing. And when they let me read the screenplay, which was based on stories from their own family, Raymond and Eleanor, the screenplay was amazing, but first I said no because it scared me. And it took me a few hours to think it over, come back to Ronen and said, well, if you haven't found anyone else, so please, I'd like to do it. Because I realized the challenge, and I decided to look at it as a challenge and not as something frightening of like having, 25 people crammed into rooms and talking at the same time.
So your first inclination was you didn't want to do it because of the logistical.
Well, not logistical, like it just looked really theatrical. I wasn't sure how I can make it cinematically vibrant and interesting. And I'm a bit, I have a slight social phobia, so I said, okay, I can manage with 1 or 2 people in a room, but not like 25, not including crew members. So I thought, just stay at my comfort zone. But then I realized that since I have a round birthday, very advanced one coming up right now. So I don't have much time to challenge myself, so I decided to do that before it's too late.
Come on, it's never too late at 40.
I wish. So the thing is that the story came about in the mind of Eleanor, who, as a little child, already felt that there was something in the family that they weren't talking about. But there was this story about one of the, her family members being given away to her sister, to her mother's sister, and this was hushed. It was usually hushed. The scope, the amount of spread of this phenomena wasn't known to any of us then, but it's just unbelievable how it came to be that we realized it was one of the most common phenomena in families, not only in Morocco, but also in many, many, many other Jewish communities, even Ashkenazi communities, and in places like China and Japan and South Africa, and where not. It was just an older form of surrogacy, and since, the surrogacy?
Yes, surrogacy.
Surrogacy. Because there were families with so many children, there was a lot of, everything was really strong community-wise and family-wise, and families were living together. So what's more rational, logical, and even financially good to lend one child to infertile family member and have them grow with a lot of comfort and good education, and then maybe even come back as an asset to the family who gave them, and support even better. So it seemed like a win-win situation full of generosity and respect. The only thing that was a bit overlooked is the child that was given, because it's only a child.
Can you ask a question?
We're going to save the questions for later, but if you have something that's
please.
related right now.
Well, like what you were just saying, that they did it with love and caring and gave a better life and maybe to come back as an asset. So it wasn't being done to be necessarily mean, and if the child was taken such good care of, it seems very, I don't know how it would hurt the child so much, even though they. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah, but
Yeah, we'll save the questions for after, but I think what she's saying is that nobody cared about the child's feelings, about the abandonment issues, and about, yeah.
look, a child that experiences abandonment doesn't care about the conditions she's living in. Usually it was a daughter, of course.
I was going to ask if it was ever
You don't
boys.
give boys away. No, boys are too
Assets.
valuable. So you can't argue with abandonment issues. There's nothing that can soothe the feeling of a child knowing that they were given away to somebody. Why me? Of all the children, why give me away? Why would my mother give up on me? Doesn't matter if it helps other. I'm the child of that mother. Why is she giving me away? A child wants to stay with her family. And then, many of them didn't know that. So just imagine how they would find out. One woman is getting married, and on the day when she's, they are about to sign the ketubah, then suddenly they decide the biological father wants to sign the ketubah. Suddenly she finds out that her father is actually her uncle, and she has another father. Or like they say, like Hannah tells in the film, there's this woman who her uncle dies, and then they say, oh no, he's your father, so sit Shiva on your father now.
Right.
Is this a way to find out at the age of 40? So just imagine the shock and the identity crisis for somebody like that. So for the child, it could have been cruel. And many of the daughters experienced this as cruel.
It's interesting because there was the dynamic between the aunt and then her and her mother. It's interesting. So even though she was quote unquote raised by the aunt, you got the sense that they were all together. Although she was different, she felt the the why me, the abandonment, and the rest of them were jealous of her because she got her own room and
Yeah,
everything.
why is she the victim here? We're the victims here. We were crammed in a little room. She had all the private teachers and the good and the beautiful dresses. So why is she whining? What is she whining about?
That was so interesting because there was like little things, that were sort of dropped in, like when she got sick at the table from the turmeric, and then told the story about, and said, why did you do that to me? I was a good girl, just to make sure that you stayed that way. It was like there was little things that she would reveal of the cruelty, that.
Yeah, there was, as you saw in the still photos in the end, we based, Eleanor and Raymond based their story on some real, the funny thing is that when Eleanor called Raymond and offered her to write a screenplay with her, so Raymond told her, did you know that my mother-in-law was also a girl on loan, was also given away? And Eleanor had no idea. So basically, Eleanor discovered that there wasn't only Mari who was given to Gracia, the real Mari was given to somebody who was actually called Gracia. In her family, she found out that there was another grandmother that gave to the grand-aunt a daughter. So there were two daughters that were given away in the family of Eleanor, and one who was given away in the family of Raymond, her actual mother-in-law. So 3 women already in the family, and nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it.
Am I remembering that on her gravestone at the end it said Anselm? Isn't that
Absalom.
isn't that Raymond's?
Yeah. We actually, there was a lot of based on, inspired by, and listen, I mean, half the cast is the actual family. They are non-actors.
Oh, that's interesting. I was going to ask you about the casting.
You
So
know
tell us
Doris, the woman who eventually played Doris, the big sister.
Yeah.
She's Eleanor's cousin. She never acted before. But when I did the research for all the dinners, and I went to Eleanor's family, the extended family, and I saw Anna, Doris. I saw her just, running around the space. Her father was cooking the meal, and he was also cooking the food that was shot in the film because he's a very good cook. So his daughter, Anna, I saw her and I told Eleanor, well, this is Doris. And she said, but she's not an actress. I said, okay, but I don't care. She just, she should play herself. See, if she feels okay with the camera, then we're going to take her. And we auditioned her. And it was a very positive audition because we all wanted her to get the part. So we were very helpful. And she did some training and she acted. Same thing with the deaf uncle. That he's really the uncle of Eleanor's mother.
Oh, interesting. Well, they were great. I mean, how much of it was, in that case, how much was scripted and how much was, that just came out of working?
Everything was scripted.
Okay.
Everything was scripted, but it was done in a way that people will not feel that they are going according to script, because everybody was acting. Not only the ones who were playing the actual scene and saying the dialogue, but if you, I mean, it's a very noisy film, right? I don't know, I hear this, I jump, because for me, it's like, I mean, it's unbelievable. I heard a motorcycle on the road, and I thought it was a siren starting. So this is like Israel
PTSD.
really. Yeah, secondary PTSD.
You're safe here.
Yeah, I'm safe here. Okay. So yeah, they were all asked because there were so many people who were naturals, who were non-actors. So they were actually reenacting the dinners, the family dinners that they're all used to at home. They were just being themselves, and the professional actors were getting so much out of that that they always felt like it's really the real thing. So we got this documentary feeling because we were using non-actors, and the authenticity was priceless. And this is why we looked for it from the beginning, to mix everything. So even the professional actors would just, step out of their respect for text and for, positions in the
Yeah.
scenes and everything,
Yeah.
and just feel really free-flowing.
Well, it felt like a small, cramped, dysfunctional dinner each time. Did you do? I mean, did you? How much rehearsal did you do, or did you not do to keep the authenticity of that feeling?
It was more than rehearsals, of course. We did rehearsals because Israeli films have no money, so you don't have the time to rehearse on set. And this needed rehearsals. But the thing is, the more important thing was to cast everybody enough in advance for everybody to bond as a real family. And we did that with many dinners. So before we even started rehearsing, we just invited them to dinners. And the dinners were also with other family members of Raymond and Eleanor, so they got the hang of it. So there was also already singing around the table. People were getting to know each other, getting to really like each other. And by the first day of shooting, everybody was like dancing into the room, just being so happy to be together. And this is what we wanted to create. And from then onwards, it was just sheer happiness of being together. Because as I told somebody here before, I mean, they say you don't choose families, right? You're just stuck with what you've got. But this family we chose, and we chose well, I hope. So everybody was really, really bonding well.
It's interesting. Talk about how you shot these scenes, how you worked with your DP, how many cameras did you use for these
Just one.
scenes?
That's one. There was no room for anybody, for nothing but one little camera. We shot with a small DSLR camera, which looks a little bit like a stills camera, because there was no room for nothing. There was just room for two people mostly. It was the guy who holds the boom, and for who is this guy is a magician. He knows how to be invisible. I don't know. He's just good at being invisible. And our cameraman, who was there alone, and we would be crammed in another room because there was no room for us, because he was guided and instructed to shoot 360 degrees, which you don't do usually on a film set. You always have the lights and everything, and the crew standing on one side, and then just shooting towards one side. But no, here we wanted him to be able to go anywhere, just to be like one of the family members. And he's so good at this. He's religious, by the way, which is really interesting. I worked with him before, and he's a religious poet or a poetic religious guy. I don't know. I mean, I don't really believe in God, but this time I think I started believing in God sometimes when I saw how he shoots, because this was just like not real. Really.
It was amazing. There must have been a huge lighting job in addition to...
Yeah, he devised the lighting. It was a lighting device that was hung on top of the tables. So wherever you shoot, as long as you don't do this, you don't see it. And then he could just run around. And sometimes I wouldn't even know. He would start a shot, and I wouldn't even know where he will finish it, because I told him, just go, just run as long as you can. And for everybody, because they knew exactly the scenes, and they knew what they do, and who's going to the kitchen to bring what, and how do they, encircle the table and everything. Everybody knew what they do geographically. So he could just do it almost documentary. And the good thing about the cast is that because nobody knew where he's going to be, Boaz, the DOP, that they had to act all the time. you know, sometimes people say, oh, no, I'm only in the background. I'll just mimic, or I'll do like I'm just in the background and I'm not in focus. I'm probably not even in focus. But they couldn't say this to themselves. So they had to be on guard all the time. And this is why things were so real, because even if they were out of the frame, they were still acting. And that gives some energy to the whole scene when everybody's in it, really in it all the time.
Did you shoot it on locations?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah, yeah. You can't really get this. I don't like studios because you can feel in the air that it's not real. I don't know. You see it a lot on TV. There's something on locations that keeps it real, also for the cast. So we were looking for old-fashioned houses that weren't renovated, and we just dressed them up with all those wallpaper and all the things. That, really, there were a lot of props for the real family from Eleanor's family. And
That's interesting.
People would go in and they would look around like it was a museum of their own family. Oh, here's my grandmother. Oh, that's my.
Oh, that's funny because they were real family members.
Yeah.
Is Eleanor and Raymond related?
Second cousins. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's Raymond's grandfather and Eleanor's grandmother are brother and sister.
Makes it even, takes it up to the next level of intimacy. Talk about the language in the film. They spoke Hebrew, French, Moroccan.
Sign language.
Yes, of course. Did they speak all these languages, or did they have to learn?
They had to learn everything. Everything. The only one who spoke real French was the groom's father. He's Belgian. He's Belgian Israeli. He's a film director himself. He also is a non-actor, but he's a film director. But everybody has to learn phonetically. Like the groom didn't know a word in French. The mother of the groom didn't know a word in French.
That's amazing.
Of course, the Tiki Dayan and Rivka Bahar, who are Hannah and Gracia, they didn't know any Moroccan, and Tiki Dayan actually said, I don't want to do this role because I'm 70-something and I'm not going to learn Moroccan now. It's enough that I know Arabic from childhood because she's half Syrian, but she said, just getting the Arab dialect out of my memory and getting the Moroccan Jewish dialect in, which is a big difference, I'm not up for it. So we went there, we sat with her 3 hours. When we went out, she was already in the project. We promised her that she's going to be taken care of in terms of dialogue coaching. And we had, the David, the eldest brother, who is the religious guy. He was our Moroccan dialogue coach. So it was wonderful. He was also an actor on the set, and he was keeping an eye on everybody who was speaking Moroccan and just getting the Moroccan right during the shots.
That's funny. How long was your shoot?
20 days.
What?
That's crazy.
Not much money in Israel for making movies, as I told you.
Oh, you make miracles.
No, just making a family and just let her be.
Wow, 20 days.
Can you talk a little bit about the scene towards the end where Mari basically blows up?
Yeah. You know how in movies there's also always like the big dramatic monologue towards the end? There's this, it's almost a cliche. And it's a very hard thing to pull off. Because it's almost like a rule in movies. I mean, if you think of it, that there's a lot of it. The leading character is either bursting into a long monologue, telling something really deep when when we started working or talking about it, Raymond Absalem said, I want to do this monologue in Moroccan. I want to do the whole thing in Arabic. And we said no, because this is going to be so conspicuous that suddenly in the final important monologue you switch into Moroccan. It's just going to be like to feel artificial, right? I mean, that would make sense, right? So she said, no, I want to do it. We said, no, do it in Hebrew. Hebrew is her language. Now she speaks Hebrew. The character would prefer to say it in Hebrew so everybody would understand at the table. No, not many speak Moroccan. And she said, okay, let's rehearse it. And then I went to her house to rehearse a scene, and I do the lines of the other actors, and she does lines of Mari. And then we get to the monologue, we run through the scene. And she starts the monologue, and she ambushed me. She studied the whole monologue in Arabic before I came. I didn't know that. And then she started, just splurting out the monologue in Moroccan, and it just blew me away physically. I was mesmerized, and the moment she finished the monologue, I was going like, I'm sorry, I was wrong. It has to be in Moroccan. You proved, you made your point. There was no other way around it, and I'm so happy she did, because it's not something it's really something that comes from the guts, and her guts still speak Moroccan, and her guts still speak Moroccan.
It's very interesting. That was going to be one of my questions about how you collaborated with the actors, and it's interesting because so much comes out of that when you do. Were there any other moments, any other aha moments that came out of the film?
I think for me the whole film was aha moment. It was an aha moment of letting go of ego and letting go of ownership of the film. Because usually, as a director, you want to own your work, but it wasn't my work. I felt like a guest, and when I was directing on the set, I felt like a host, and I never felt like it's mine. And I think when you make a film, especially a film that is very dependent on other people, when you make it not from the standpoint of this is my work and now you come and do what I say, then the whole thing just feels different. And everybody was coming to the set, waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning and happily coming with the taxis to the set, and it felt like everybody was really in love with the filmmaking, because they all felt a part of it. They all felt a part of the family that made the movie. And what can be more of a proof that just a few days ago we met for the third Hanukkah in a row to light a candle, all of the cast. We still are together as a family even today. And this is because everybody feels like an equal member in the making of this movie. So for me, my work is done when I choose right. And I choose cast members not only because they would be the best actors and actresses for the job. I choose them because of their characters. Like, they could be the best professionals, but if they have, excuse me, a shitty personality, they won't step on the set. No way. Especially in such a familial event.
Yeah, I understand. It's a very powerful film. It's a woman's story. It's written by women. It's directed by a woman, about strong female characters. Why is it important in current times to tell a story like this?
It's always important to tell a story like that. I'm a woman. The writers are women. How else? I mean, how else can it be? And we have a tremendous respect for men as well. But it's, I mean, I think one thing maybe sometimes is better, in the way women look at things, is that they see everybody more. But no, I wouldn't generalize. No. You men are wonderful, really. No, it's just that sometimes women, the characters are overlooked when men do film.
And
but
the secrets. and
It's
all
just
that.
exceptions.
There was a lot of, it's interesting seeing it on a big screen because I watched it on my computer first. And with this great audience, there was a lot more comedy that came through. So talk about, because it's such a heavy subject, and how you were able to weave in some of these lighter moments.
Well, it was already in the screenplay, right? I mean, Eleanor is a comedian, and she has a very compassionate and humoristic look on humanity. So that worked, and there's a lot of humor in these families, and the humor is always mixed with a lot of pain. And I mean, this is our life too, right? So I mean, if you can laugh, why not? So basically, we wanted to mix it, but we also wanted to do something even more, challenging for us, and is make a genre twist in the middle, like because when you see the first two dinners or three dinners, you think you're watching a comedy, kind of a dramedy, okay, but
Yeah.
like very comic. And then as the film progresses, suddenly you realize that no, it could be definitely a tragedy as well. I mean, it goes more to the dramatic, and in the end, it's melodramatic. I don't know. I mean, we try to weave genres and just play a little bit with the flow of your experience.
And that's
as an
exactly how,
audience.
it starts out in one way, and then you're sort of, where am I going with this? And then it starts to get into it, and, the layers start to come away. It's also interesting, Mari is always dressed in light colored clothing, and then towards the end, talk about the choice with the light versus the dark.
Well, it's just, I actually want to ask if any of you, because you were talking about the wardrobe, was any of you wondering when this whole thing happened? Like what year? Or could you guess? Because
In the 50s or 60s, the telephone.
later, there were no cell phones.
No,
Hint, hint. 80s, 60s, okay. We aimed for the 90s, for the beginning of the 90s. But we didn't want to make a thing out of it, and like have, like have the picture of the current prime minister on the wall, or talk about, events. We actually aimed for it to be a little bit out of time, out of place, out
Yeah,
of
it felt like that.
context, because then it just sheds one layer of information that is not really needed, because what we were aiming for is for emotional information, and we didn't want the cell phones to disturb us, because now in every family dinner everybody's like this. So it's true. There's another cast member in the frame always.
What would it mean for you to get the Oscar nomination, or to get the Oscar for this film? What would that mean for you personally?
Yeah.
I'm not ready for this question, because I wasn't expecting this question actually. But right now, if I'll be sincere, it means nothing to me in person. It means only something for the people that are involved in the film, and everybody else in my country. If that gives you know, like a momentary relief, if that gives pride, anything like that, I would be really beyond myself happy. But I don't really, you know, there's a good chance we won't get anything. We hope to go to get to the short list, which is the final 15, and we'll know in a week. So please pray for us.
Voters.
But
You know voters?
if not, then at least we know that we did our best. Our publicist, Stephen Raphael, is here. He's wonderful. They walked us through the campaign. We did whatever we could. We were here 1 month ago screening to Academy members, and we were in New York and in Miami and in London, and we did what we could, really. So I'm happy with what we did. I'm happy with the audiences that came. I'm happy with the delight I saw in their faces and in faces of audiences in Israel. And I'm happy, you know, there's one more thing. I'm going to go back to my first story. It's not a story, it's the thing that initiated the whole campaign, as I told you. In Kfar Aza, we also met Liora, who's the mother of this guy that we talked with, his widow, who told us to go get the Oscar. And she was talking to Eleanor, and she said, you know, now, because of me being the mother of this guy and us being, you know, the refugees from Kfar Aza, I'm like a goldfish. Whatever I ask for, you know, I can get. Or it's the other way around, but doesn't matter. She can ask for whatever she wants. And Eleanor said, okay, but what on earth can I give you now to help? And she said, I want a link to watch the movie, to watch your movie. And you said, okay, are you sure you are up to watching the movie? She said, I want it. Let me have it. If I can, I will watch it. And 5 days after, on Saturday morning, she wrote Eleanor an email. And she said, you know, I woke up as usual woke up from pain at 5 a.m. And I said, okay, I'll try to watch like 10 minutes of your film and just, you know, get my mind off my pain. And she said, 2 hours later, I finished the whole film. And I want to thank you for just being able to stay, you know, far from my pain, to just have a relief for these 2 hours. It was just wonderful. Just being able not to think of anything, being absorbed in the story. And what else can we ask for as filmmakers? For me, it's the ultimate, you know, for me, it's I won't say better than getting to the shortlist, but it's equivalent. Thank you so much. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so honored that you all came for this screening, which is really special for me because this is our last screening before the voting starts for the shortlist. And what can be better than to have a screening in the Museum of Tolerance, especially when this is the thing it seems like the world lacks most nowadays. So it's very meaningful to me. Thank you so much for having me here.